Hello everyone, welcome to Hidden File. Today we're going to talk about a very mysterious disappearance case. It happened in 2014 when two young women from the Netherlands traveled to Panama's jungle for a hiking trip, and then disappeared. Since the incident, various clues have been gradually uncovered. However, instead of bringing clarity, these clues have made the case even more puzzling. People around the world have engaged in heated discussions, trying to uncover the truth behind this mystery. This is the disappearance case of Panama's jungle. Today's story revolves around two main individuals. The first is Kris Kremers. She was born in 1992, a Dutch citizen, and was 21 years old at the time. The second is Lisanne Froon. She was born in 1991, also from the Netherlands, and was 22 years old that year. The two were a year apart in age and grew up in Amersfoort, a small city in central Netherlands. Kris and Lisanne were both university students. Kris studied cultural and social education at Utrecht University, while Lisanne had graduated from Saxion University in Deventer with a degree in applied psychology. They attended different schools, but met because they both worked part-time at a restaurant in Amersfoort. The two were similar in age and shared common interests, which led them to become inseparable best friends. Later, Kris and Lisanne moved into the same apartment. Lisanne was 1.84 meters tall and physically strong. She had been a volleyball player at school. Kris, on the other hand, was not as tall, standing at 1.67 meters. Both had a passion for traveling and were learning Spanish. With that in mind, they decided to study abroad. To fund their trip, they saved up 6 months' worth of wages. After careful discussion, they chose Panama as their destination. Panama is a country that connects North and South America, with Spanish as its official language. The country is best known for the Panama Canal, which not only links the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, but also serves as a dividing line between North and South America. This unique geographical position makes Panama a particularly significant place. Kris and Lisanne planned to travel to Panama for a 6-week study program. The trip had several purposes. First and foremost, it was about traveling. After saving up for 6 months, they wanted to reward themselves with an unforgettable experience. Second, they planned to volunteer at a local school, teaching English to children. Additionally, they would have the opportunity to improve their Spanish skills. So, on a day in March 2014, Kris and Lisanne made all the necessary preparations, packed their bags, and set off on their journey. On Sunday, March 15th, 2014, 21-year-old Kris and 22-year-old Lisanne boarded a flight from the Netherlands to Panama. They were filled with excitement for the 6-week adventure ahead. Upon arriving in Panama, they headed to the beaches in the northwest. There, they fully enjoyed the sunshine, sand, and delicious food. During their stay, they also made a few new friends. 2 weeks later, on March 29th, they left the beach and traveled to a place called Boquete. Boquete is a small town in the western highlands of Panama, near the famous Baru volcano. Once they arrived, Kris and Lisanne found a local guest house and settled in. The owner of the guest house was a woman named Miriam Guerra. She was warm and hospitable, having hosted many international students before. Kris and Lisanne had chosen to come to Boquete because they had previously applied to volunteer at a school in the area. However, when they arrived at the school, they were told that classes had started earlier than expected. The school had sent them an email a week before as a reminder, but perhaps because they were too engrossed in their time at the beach, they had forgotten to check their inbox. As a result, they missed their volunteer opportunity. Before leaving the Netherlands, Kris and Lisanne had already booked their return flight, meaning they had to stay in Panama for another 4 weeks. A few days after settling into the guest house, they built a good relationship with Miriam. Although their Spanish was not very fluent, Miriam was patient and willing to listen and communicate with them. Upon learning that they wanted to improve their Spanish, Miriam recommended a local language school to them. So, Kris and Lisanne went to the language school and enrolled in a course. Since this was a study trip, learning was important, but exploring was just as crucial. The people at the language school recommended several sightseeing routes around the Boquete area, which immediately piqued their interest. Because the region was covered in tropical rainforest with a complex terrain, it was easy for inexperienced travelers to get lost. To ensure their safety, Kris and Lisanne hired a local guide named Feliciano Gonzalez. They arranged to set off with him on April 2nd for a 3-day hiking trip. After checking into the guest house on March 29th, 3 days quickly passed, and soon it was April 1, a Tuesday. According to their plan, they were scheduled to begin their guided hike the next day on April 2nd. That day, however, the weather was exceptionally good. Rather than staying idle at the guest house, Kris and Lisanne decided to go out and explore on their own. They had heard about a popular hiking trail nearby called Sendero el Pianista. In Spanish, this means the Pianista Trail. For simplicity, we'll refer to it as TrailX. TrailX was located in the northeastern mountainous region of Boquete, not far from their guest house. The trail was 8 kilometers long, winding through dense tropical rainforest. Along the way, hikers could see various streams and waterfalls. If the weather was good, reaching the top would offer a breathtaking view of the distant, deep blue Caribbean Sea. The journey provided an immersive experience of Panama's tropical rainforest landscape. More importantly, the trail wasn't particularly long. It could be completed in a single day. This meant that hiking it wouldn't interfere with their scheduled guided tour the following day. When their host, Miriam, learned about their plan to hike TrailX alone, she tried to dissuade them. She explained that although the trail was doable within a day, it was still risky for inexperienced hikers. The rainforest's terrain was complex, and there were potential dangers. However, Kris and Lisanne were unconcerned. They believed the trail was well known and frequently traveled. As long as they followed the path, they thought, they wouldn't have any problems, especially with other hikers around. Miriam didn't try to stop them any further. Instead, she gave them a mixed-breed husky named Azul. Azul was well-trained and knew how to find his way home. On the morning of April 1st, Kris and Lisanne took a taxi from the guest house to the starting point of TrailX. The day passed quickly. By that evening on April 1st, something strange happened. Miriam saw Azul return to the guest house, alone, but Kris and Lisanne, who had left with him that morning, were nowhere to be seen. Miriam felt uneasy and began to worry about the 2 girls. That night, she searched around the guest house, but found no sign of them. The next day, April 2nd, was the day Kris and Lisanne had scheduled their hike with the guide. That morning, their language school instructor and the guide, Feliciano Gonzalez, arrived at the guest house. They asked Miriam if she had seen Kris and Lisanne. Miriam told them the girls never returned the night before. The more they thought about it, the stranger it seemed. They were supposed to go on the guided hike that day. So why were they missing? A troubling question arose. Had they already left Panama? So, under Miriam's guidance, they entered Kris and Lisanne's room. Inside, all their luggage and personal belongings were still there. It didn't look like they had left Panama. They waited another full day, but the 2 girls still didn't return. Something felt wrong. That night, at 9 p.m., guide Feliciano Gonzalez went to the local police station to report them missing. The Panamanian police quickly contacted the girls' families in the Netherlands. They wanted to know if their parents had any idea about their travel plans. Their families said the last message they had received from the girls was on April 1st. After that, there had been no more contact. The next day, search efforts officially began. Panama deployed a large team of searchers who entered the mountains near TrailX with the help of local guides. Helicopters were also sent in to provide aerial support. Days passed, but there was no sign of them. On April 6th, Kris and Lisanne's parents arrived in Panama. Desperate and anxious, they joined the Panamanian authorities in the search. For the next 10 days, they combed through the jungle, but still, nothing. After that, Kris and Lisanne's parents offered a $30,000 reward for any information. News of the missing Dutch girls spread quickly throughout the region. Missing person posters were plastered everywhere, even on roadside billboards. Then, 10 weeks after their disappearance, on June 17th, the case finally had a breakthrough. A local woman walked into the police station, carrying a blue backpack. She said she was from the village of Alto Romero. That day, while working in a rice field near the Culebra River, she spotted the blue backpack nearby. She insisted it hadn't been there before. She worked in the field daily and would have noticed it earlier. The police opened the backpack. Inside, they found 2 neatly folded pieces of underwear, 2 pairs of cheap sunglasses, and 2 phones, an iPhone 4 and a Samsung Galaxy S3. There was also a Canon PowerShot SX270HS camera, a medical insurance card with Kris's name on it, an empty water bottle, and $83 in cash. Obviously, the backpack was linked to the 2 Dutch girls who had gone missing 10 weeks earlier. The police immediately focused on the camera. They found that the SD card was completely intact. Successfully accessing its data, they discovered that it contained Kris and Lisanne's photos. However, instead of solving the mystery, these photos only deepened it. Let's take a look at what was on the camera. The first few images showed them on the plane at the start of their journey. Another set depicted them enjoying the beaches of Panama. One picture was taken at a seaside restaurant where they appeared to have made new friends. Then came the photos from April 1st, the day they set out on the Pianista Trail. One image showed the narrow path ahead, marking the trail they were following. From these pictures, they seemed to be in good spirits, and the mountain scenery looked beautiful. Eventually, they reached the summit. According to the standard hiking route, they should have turned back at this point. A time-stamped photo taken at 1:20 p.m. showed them still on the trail. But instead of returning, they appeared to continue deeper into the jungle. A later image, taken at 1:54 p.m., captured them crossing a small stream. The police retrieved photos not only from April 1st, but also from the following days. In addition to the photos taken on April 1st and the following days, April 1st was the day they set off. However, from April 2nd to April 7th, there were no photos taken during these 6 days. Then, in the early hours of April 8th, between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., the camera captured a total of 90 strange nighttime photos. Most of these photos were completely dark, and it is unclear why they were taken. However, a few of them were clearly visible, though somewhat strange. For example, in one photo, several tree branches can be seen with 2 red plastic bags tied to them, seemingly as a distress signal to attract attention. Another photo appears to show the back of a person's head, believed to be Kris, as the hair is a golden red color, red. Among the evidence found inside the blue backpack, there was a camera and 2 mobile phones. Kris used an iPhone, while Lisanne had a Samsung phone. Records show that on April 1st, the iPhone attempted to make an emergency call to 112 at 4:39 p.m., and the Samsung phone did the same at 4:51 p.m. The number 112 is the emergency number for the Netherlands, not Panama. Due to a lack of signal, both calls failed to connect. On the second day, April 2nd, both phones attempted to dial 1123 more times. One of the attempts, at 10:53 a.m., also tried calling Panama's local emergency number, 911, but again, none of the calls went through. On the third day, April 3rd, the iPhone only attempted to call 911 once at 9:33 a.m. After briefly being turned on, the phone was turned off again, likely in an attempt to search for a signal. On the fourth day, April 4th, the iPhone made 2 attempts to search for a signal, while the Samsung phone showed no activity. On the 5th day, April 5th, the iPhone searched for a signal twice, and the Samsung phone did so once. After that, the Samsung phone remained powered on until its battery was completely drained. On the 6th day, April 6th, the iPhone recorded 2 incorrect password attempts. From April 7th to April 11th, the iPhone made a total of 77 emergency calls, but none of them connected. Finally, on April 11th, the phone was powered off and was never turned on again. The Panamanian police then started their search along the Kremers River, beginning from the location where the blue backpack was found. This time, it only took 2 days to make a new discovery. On June 19th, near the location where the blue backpack was found, the police discovered a brown shoe. The shoelaces were tightly tied, and inside the shoe, they found a foot. Shortly after, the search team found human leg bones and fragments of a pelvis downstream of the Kremers River. Upstream on a rock, the police found a pair of denim shorts. After verification, the shorts belonged to Kris. However, the torsos and skulls of both individuals remained missing. The foot inside the shoe showed no signs of severance or animal bites, appearing to have decayed naturally. However, the discovered pelvis fragment appeared whiter than usual, as if it had been bleached. Upon examination, traces of phosphate were found on the bone, raising suspicions that it had been artificially accelerated in decomposition. DNA tests confirmed that the foot and leg bones belonged to Lisanne, while the pelvis belonged to Kris. Their families were devastated upon receiving this news. On June 20th, the families of both girls issued a public statement informing the public that they had sufficient reasons to believe that the two girls had passed away. In August, Panamanian police discovered remains of Kris and Lisanne in the jungle. However, strangely, forensic experts determined that these remains were still in the early stages of decomposition, which did not advanced state of decomposition observed in the previously discovered pelvis fragment. Some experts suggested that factors such as residual temperature, overall humidity, and soil composition could have contributed to varying rates of decomposition. In November, more than 6 months after the two Dutch girls went missing, the Attorney General of Panama announced the results of the investigation. Authorities concluded that the two had suffered an accident while hiking, which led to their deaths. The case was officially closed, and no further investigation would be conducted. This conclusion was far from convincing. Based on the publicly available clues, many online discussions emerged, forming different theories about what might have happened. These theories generally fall into two main perspectives. One side believes that Kris and Lisanne were simply unlucky and suffered an accident in the jungle. Without cell service, they were unable to call for help and tragically passed away. The other side, however, argues that this does not seem like an accident at all, but rather a case of foul play. Examining the details, some inconsistencies arise. Kris and Lisanne did not carry a compass, nor did they bring extra food, only a single water bottle. While they might have suffered from food shortages, water was likely not an issue. After reaching the summit via the hiking trail, they did not return the way they came, but instead continued forward. Photos from their camera confirm this. That day, the sun set at 6:40 p.m., and it was a new moon, meaning there was no visible moonlight for the next few nights, making visibility extremely low. One particular photo shows a few tree branches with two red plastic bags tied to them. Some people noticed a rope in the background of this image. After enhancing the photo, it was revealed that the location was a place called Monkey Bridge. Monkey Bridge consists of 3 ropes, 1 for walking on and 2 for holding onto. Such a structure is quite dangerous. One theory suggests that the girls were trying to cross Monkey Bridge when they accidentally fell. According to phone records, they made their first emergency call at 4:39 p.m. that day, suggesting that one of them had already encountered danger. By nighttime, due to the poor visibility, the other person was unable to rescue her. In desperation, they used their camera's flash as a source of light, which might explain why dozens of pitch-black photos were taken. Additionally, in one of the images, a faint marking can be seen on a rock. When zoomed in, the mark appears to be the letter S, leading to speculation that they were attempting to write SOS to signal for help. Others, however, believe it is not a letter but the number 5. Supporters of the accident theory argue that the infamous back-of-the-head photo of Kris was actually a self-portrait. They believe she had injured her head and took the picture to assess her wound. Do you remember the mixed-breed Husky Azul, owned by the hostel owner? According to the hostel owner, Azul returned alone that night. This raised some questions among netizens. In all the publicly released photos taken on April 1st, there was not a single image showing the dog. However, the hostel owner claimed that the dog had been following the two girls since they left in the morning. Doesn't that seem odd? Additionally, not all the photos on the camera could be retrieved. One photo was deleted and could not be recovered in any way. April 1st was their first day hiking the X Trail. That day, they took a total of 30 photos, with the last photo being numbered 508. On April 8th, they took another 90 photos, and the first photo from that day was numbered 510. Clearly, photo 509 was missing. It's common for people to delete bad or unnecessary photos while taking pictures. However, Kris and Lisanne did not seem to have the habit of deleting photos. The camera contained many poorly taken images that had not been removed. Yet, this single photo, number 509, was missing. Panamanian authorities attempted to recover photo 509 using technical means, but they were unsuccessful. A likely explanation is that the photo was not simply deleted from the camera, but was erased using a computer and specialized software. Skeptics of this theory argue that nothing is absolute. While it is generally possible to recover deleted photos from a camera, it is not guaranteed. Some images might be lost permanently. However, if someone had the technical knowledge to delete photo 509 using advanced methods, then why were multiple incorrect passcodes entered into the phone? Someone with that level of technical skill should have been able to bypass the iPhone 4's passcode. As early as 2011, a video was uploaded online demonstrating how to access an iPhone 4 without knowing the password. By 2014, when this case occurred, such information was readily available on the internet. If someone could delete photo 509, why didn't they access the iPhone 4? Were they not concerned that the phone might contain crucial photos or evidence? 10 weeks after the two girls went missing, a local woman discovered a blue backpack by the river. The tropical rainforest environment is extremely humid, with frequent rainfall. The backpack was not waterproof, just a regular travel bag. Yet, when the police retrieved it, the bag's surface was not only very clean but also completely dry, and the contents inside were in perfect condition. Given the constant moisture and rain in the rainforest, how could the backpack remain so dry? Inside the bag, there were 2 pieces of underwear. Through the photos on the camera, it was revealed that these were the same clothes Kris and Lisanne were wearing on the day they disappeared. Why would they take off their underwear and place them in the backpack? One theory suggests they had gone swimming. In 2019, a magazine called Madame Maxine published a photo claiming that it was taken in Panama on April 1st, 2014. The location was said to be the Caldera Hot Springs, not far from the X Trail. In the photo, Kris and Lisanne were seen swimming with 2 men. Based on facial features, the 2 women did resemble Kris and Lisanne, but the image quality was too low to be certain. The 2 men in the photo were identified as Valenzuela and Murgas. Strangely, both of them died within a year after Kris and Lisanne's disappearance. Valenzuela on April 4th, 2014, and Murgas in 2015. Could this photo be the infamous missing photo 509? If so, then the girls' deaths were definitely not accidental. They were murdered. Every digital camera photo contains XEF data, which stands for Exchangeable Image File Format. This data records details such as the time the photo was taken and the camera settings. Kris and Lisanne never adjusted the time settings on their camera after arriving in Panama. This means that the recorded photo timestamps were based on the camera's original setting, which used GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. For example, in photo number 493, the EXEF data shows that it was taken at 1842 GMT. Converting this to Panama time means the actual time of capture was 12:42 p.m. Panamanian police inferred that the 2 individuals arrived at the starting point of TrailX at 11 a.m. based on EXIF data. A taxi driver stated that he picked them up at 1:30 p.m. that day and dropped them off at the trailhead around 1:45 p.m. Multiple witnesses on TrailX that day reported seeing the 2 girls at around 2 p.m. This timeline matches the taxi driver's statement. If this is accurate, then the Panamanian police's XIF-based time calculation was incorrect. Alternatively, all of the XIF data may have been tampered with. To this day, many people continue to investigate the truth behind this case. They completely reject the police's claim that it was an accident. Some have even traveled to TrailX in Panama to retrace the exact route the 2 girls took. They have even identified locations that match those in the photos taken back then. Of course, the official conclusion was made long ago. Kris and Lisanne died in an accident. Or was it murder? What do you think?